Thank you. I became the Director of Naval Intelligence 13 September 1974, brand new flag selectee that year. I also had a second hat, and they still don't want me to talk about it even now, of Director of the National Underwater Reconnaissance Office. Something highly classified. That's the organization that built all of the sensitive reconnaissance systems to collect intelligence under the surface of the oceans. And think about, you've got an opportunity to place something in a very sensitive location to listen to the highest level of communications, but you can't pick it up for 6 months. So you need AI for it to know when to record and when to cut off so that you don't use up its capacity in the earliest. That's my introduction to AI in the collection world. A lot of stories through it. You could build a special purpose machine to attack a single code. And again, the software had many AI elements to it. You could build it for $5 million. That's $77, $78. And if they changed the system, suddenly it was worthless. The incredible growth in computing power, when you match that with AI, it gives you some sense of what's out there, what's possible. When I came to the private sector in '82, I agreed to put together the country's first large-scale joint research venture owned by competing computer and semiconductor companies. We did nationwide site selection, 57 cities, 27 states bid, Austin won, going away. But the research areas that had already been defined by the original 15 corporations who were the founders. Integrated circuits, production and packaging of integrated circuits, advanced computer design, advanced software design, and then 4 areas in the computing area: database management, human interface, parallel processing, and artificial intelligence. With that charter, I elected to take 2 different paths. Got Woody Bledsoe and some of his colleagues from UT Austin to come and work on creating tools to accelerate our ability to pursue and implement it. But also lured Doug Lynott and Mayor Shepard from Stanford to build Psych, to take the approach of building the largest single database. I wasn't a smart machine, but hopefully it would reason and let you do things. The fact that this joint research venture undertook those programs, which weren't going to have any clear outcome for at least 10 years, was a good sign of the fact that the companies were at least looking toward the far horizon. Implementation of the tools came reasonably quickly from a handful of the companies. The others didn't use them. The large database at this stage of our lives, finally some very large entities are using it. And what are they using it for? To detect activity within their own company that may be violation of the law, the rest of it, to find the rogue trader at all along the way. As I got MCC going, I was fascinated by something new to me called venture capital. My board said it was okay for me to get involved if it didn't replicate the research at MCC. I elected to go with people I knew. There were a lot of kind offers. Peter Sprague had been a founder of National Semiconductor. He'd started something new in San Jose called LASA, to use dry chemistry and deposition of chips. It didn't work, didn't lose much money. The second one was something new called a relational database. And the chairman of the board was an old friend who introduced me to its founders, Larry Ellison, and Bob Meyer, and that was Oracle. And then George Kosmetsky just stepped down as dean of the business school, was absolutely adamant I had to join him in investing in, serving on the board of something new called PC Limited, and we changed its name to Dell. So with the incredible luck of having Oracle and Dell as two of my first three, clearly I was brilliant at this process. Between '84 and 2016, I invested in 57 early stage companies. Some were successes, but the one I want to talk to you relevant here was not. Technology that had been created from an investment in Portland, Oregon at Lewis and Clark on how did you use AI to let a lawyer distill their knowledge into a program that could be replicated by other lawyers and would have everything you needed to do to make sure it was a perfect employment contract that era. And its brilliance was that you could do in 3.5 hours what you normally spent 14 hours in preparing an employment contract. Why didn't it work? Because law firms billed by the hour, and they had zero interest in something that was going to cut by 2/3 what they were finding profitable. So the lesson here for us as we turn to look at AI going forward, culture. Will, in fact, the entities use this technology as it's emerging? Going back to why MCC was created, to compete with the Japanese. Japanese put an awful lot of government money into it, but they were slow at implementing. What happened in the US was that the companies that had got involved realized the real key was running faster. And the fact that they implemented the technology faster, innovatively, was the key to success, not that they kept it locked up and tried to keep anybody else from having access to it. So as I look at all of the stories now of what's coming in the AI world, I want to have some level of comfort that the technology will get used quickly as it emerges. You'll hear when we get to the next panel that David Ignatius is going to chair and Amir is going to join. I'm maybe more of a skeptic than others about where the Chinese are. I'm out there often. They reached out to me for a dialogue 6 years ago. I'm usually there twice a year, talking at pretty high levels. And that we helped train a generation of scientists who are out there at the cutting edge. Some of them had stayed in US corporations, US universities. They've gone home to the process. So pushing the frontiers at least as well, maybe better, in the evolving technology. Where I'm somewhat more skeptical is where the Chinese system will have that same effect on innovation to make full use of the technology. So I come back that I think for the US, we want to fund and push all the ideas that may advance, but we want to reward innovation. And those who move, and the first efforts will probably fail in the process, but those who, in fact, run those first companies will have learned from it, and the next ones are likely to be far more successful. So the key, first investment, push the frontiers of knowledge, put in place both the capacity and the drive to pull that emerging technology out of the labs, go get it into actual use, and change the culture where necessary. But also remember, as these technologies evolve, we never want to lose sight of where we are as a country. That the technologies we pursue and implement are not only good for the economy, but good for the society. And we want to be very careful as we move into this process, that we don't rush simply because something might work to do something that ANI enables, but that may in fact not be good for our society or for global society. And I hope the Chinese have that same view. I'm not yet persuaded. Thank you very much for your kind time and attention, and I look forward to moving on to the panel that's coming. Thank you.